talk about your pain, can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste the Therapist. Let's go.
All right. Hi, beautiful people. Let me just go live on Instagram. If you are watching me on the replay, thank you for watching me. I appreciate you. I am streaming on multiple devices right now. Okay, cool. So I'm streaming on multiple devices right now. My name is Celeste. I'm a therapist. My goal is to help shift the way you think. And I've been able to do that by talking about mental health, talking about things that we go through, and kind of breaking it down for people. And if you're not familiar with my platform, I do have a podcast. So these episodes that come on Wednesdays. So if you ever enjoy the episodes that I do, I keep them on social media, but also you can listen to them. You can share them with somebody that you love. These are just kind of practical tips and things to help you really rethink your role in your life and showing you your power. I recognize so many people are struggling with so many different things with the lack of resources. So one thing that is powerful is educating ourselves about a process or educating ourselves about something and not just taking one word for it or one solution. Last week we talked about embracing stillness. So that was a really good conversation. So if stillness is something that you are trying to get more into or haven't thought about, definitely check out that conversation. Today we're talking about sleep. So if you're joining me on TikTok, hi. You're not able to see the visuals, but everyone else will be able to see the visuals. I'm a very visual learner. So I'm always going to put up the words, and for people listening on the audio, you can definitely tune in on a Wednesday at 12, or even if you can't, you can definitely check it out. So I want to talk about sleep because so many people are struggling with sleep. And a lot of times people don't realize there's more than just taking a medicine to help. There's holistic ways of thinking about managing sleep. And when you think about your mental status, I want you to think about, because there's always going to be something going on, but I want you to think about, like, what am I feeding my body, putting into it? Am I moving my body and sleep? Those are things that can really disrupt your mental status and you not really realize it, and trying to work on it. And a lot of Americans are struggling with sleep. So the first thing I want you to think about is like why sleep is so important. And as you can see on the visual, it says sleep is as important for good health as diet and exercise. Good sleep improves your brain performance, your mood, and your health. Not getting enough sleep regularly raises the risk of many diseases and disorders. I know a lot of people didn't realize that. These can range from heart disease, stroke, obesity, and dementia. I realize a lot of people don't realize how much sleep is connected to your physical wellness. As you can see in the article that I pulled up, and you can look it up as well. If you Google why is sleep so important, you'll see that it's very much related to our medical as well. People, when I meet with people and, I'll be checking in. Let me just put this banner up. So, and people are checking in, and they'll be like, yeah, I haven't been sleeping. And they'll just like keep going, right? Like just keep talking about something else. And I said, we can't just like gloss past this whole, like, I haven't been sleeping. Like it's just not something, we can do. Because if you're not sleeping, then so many things are not getting done. Sleep related to mental health. If you're not sleeping, then you're not going to get anything done. It's really impossible for that to happen. And when you wonder how many Americans are struggling or sleep deprived, it says that 1/3 of American adults are sleep deprived, according to a survey conducted by the Center for Disease Control. The nationwide, the age-adjusted prevalence of short sleep duration reached 36.8% in 2022. That's a 10% increase Obviously, with everything that's happening in the world, um, you know, it's the reality of a lot of people are struggling with the stress behind things that are happening. Someone says that I take magnesium at bed for sleep. I struggle with sleep. Yes, and vitamin, like your vitamin deficiency. I did a episode on that. If you look up vitamin deficiency, but your vitamin deficiency is another reason why you may be struggling with sleep, because stress is definitely one of them, and you may have not at your optimal level. And again, these aren't things that the doctor talks about. You know, if you're a doctor or if your doctor talks about kind of a holistic approach to sleep, you have a great person in your circle. But if your doctor is just, if you're talking about sleep with your doctor and your doctor is just talking about taking a sleeping pill, not as a last resort, but as a first resort, I want you to think about challenging that idea. Because when you think about medicine, medicine just manipulates your rhythm to help deal with the symptoms that you're struggling with. It doesn't get to the root of the problem. And a lot of doctors aren't taught how to get to the root of the problem. When you think about hospitals and clinics and things like that, they're not there to help you to maintain a healthy rhythm or lifestyle. That when their intervention comes in is when you're having symptoms, right? And whether it's the high blood pressure med or whatever med that you take, the medicine is helping with the symptoms, but what is the root of the problem? And so I don't think a lot of people understand that when it comes to sleep. So if you're not sleeping, I just put the stat up, you're not alone. A lot of Americans today are struggling with sleep. And then how does sleep affect my mental health, right? Because so many people gloss over this when they're talking about sleep, I recognize that so many people don't recognize the direct link to how they're affected by sleep. So studies also show that sleep deficiency changes activities in some parts of your brain. So your brain could even be manipulated, right? If you're sleep deficient, you may have trouble making decisions, solving problems, controlling your emotions and behavior, and coping with change. Sleep deficiency has also been linked to depression and risk taking behaviors. So this is something to keep in mind, right? If you are struggling with sleep, thinking about how to get a hold over it, because it's not just like, okay, I didn't sleep well, like let me go about my day. Some of the decisions you need to make, some of the ways that you may have some goals that you're trying to set that's not working out. I always tell people, whether we're talking about sleep or any kind of like vitamin deficiency or medical stuff, I said, yeah, you could come to therapy, we can talk, but I promise you, like you're gonna feel like you're fighting against yourself even more so because you're having a hard time like making it happen. Um, you are welcome. You're having a hard time making it happen if you are not like sleeping, right? That is the foundation of how to get things done. It's related to so many things and it's so dismissed. And even when it's talked about, trying to get to a level of being able to sleep can be challenging, right? And so I want you to think about these things and how you can work on sleep. And that's what the next section right now we're going to go into is thinking about how I can improve my sleep. I wanted to set up the foundation to show you like why this is important because you don't really think about it that deeply. So now I want you to think about it that deeply. Now that you understand the ramifications of not having quality sleep, it's probably affecting your progress with the medical things you're trying to work on. It's probably affecting your progress with the literal goal setting things you're trying to work on if you're not finding yourself getting adequate sleep. All right, so let's go into how can I improve my sleep? That's important. So the first thing is thinking about like your space, like making sure it's not busy, right? If you can work on developing a good system every night, that's important. Systems are important. Our brain operates off of systems, right? If you are, like I always say, if you have a right car, you're going to keep seeing the right car because that's what your system knows. If you're thinking about like, oh, how can I make this business plan better? And you're making intentional time to make your business plan better, guess what your mind's going to do? It's going to look for ways to make your business plan better. If you are consistently like not in a routine of the night, you had a long day, and then you just kind of like roll over after you've been scrolling and try to go to sleep. There's no real system there. Your body needs systems to sleep. So developing a consistent schedule where you work on going to bed every night. Is there a possibility that sometimes you may not go to bed a certain time at that night? Do I always go to bed every night at the same time? No. Consistently, yeah, I do. I create that nighttime routine. And I just shared, if you're following me on Instagram, I just shared an old post I did about my nighttime routine, but I'll share it here today too. But creating that nighttime routine allows your system to understand, like, okay, this is what we're about to do. We're about to go to bed, right? I know when I have to go to the bathroom, like I'll be like, okay, I'll like if I'm in a store and I have to go to the bathroom, and then I don't have to go as bad, but as soon as I go into the bathroom, like, dang, I gotta go really bad because my system knows, like, oh, okay, we don't have to hold it anymore. Now we're about to, like, we're in the bathroom, so now we can get ready to go to the bathroom. That's when you think about like sleep and trying to retrain your system on sleep, like making sure there's no screen time 30 minutes before, and making sure that, and then your system starts knowing, okay, we're about to wind down. The next thing it says is avoid, okay, turn off electronics at least 30 minutes before planned sleep. That's big. Like, a lot of these things that I'm talking about today, you may find yourself that you are doing it. And I want you to really think about, like, if you really want to improve your sleep, there's no quick fixes. Like, there's not no magic pill. Well, like, there is a pill that may put you to sleep, but put you to sleep longer than you need to, or it may have side effects. If you want to try to take a holistic approach to this, these tips are really going to be helpful. Avoiding caffeine, alcohol, and sugar in large meals before bedtime. Really try to plan out your day where you're not eating last minute, eating a bunch of sweets and stuff last minute. You're activating your system. You're making it hard for your system to start to unwind and get ready to sleep. Um, um, Avoid heavy meals 2 to 3 hours before bed. Practice relaxation techniques. So try reading, listening to music, or taking a hot bath before bed. This is something that's important, right? All these tips I'm talking about doesn't cost any money. It requires intention, though, right? One practice that I recently started, that I've been sharing on my stories on Instagram and TikTok, is that at the beginning of the year, I said I wanted to read more. I listen to audible books, and I read, but not like intentionally. Like if I have time, like, oh, okay, let me read, right? Last week I was like, yo, Celeste, you said you wanted to read more, and you're not really doing that, right? Like holding yourself accountable is like so dope, right? Because like you can make things happen. And so what I started doing was setting my Alexa at 9:30, because my phone shuts off at 10. Everything goes off. Where if I need to use my phone or use any app on my phone, I gotta put in the code. It deters me. So literally, I just put my phone down at 10, right? And so I now have been reading every night, and it's been amazing, right? I started off setting my thing for 15 minutes, then 25. Now I'm doing 30 minutes a night. And the book I'm currently reading, right? Because this tip right here, it says practicing a relaxation technique. This tip, it takes me away from the screen. It allows me to read something that I can enter into my spirit in a healthy way. Like if it's a book that's like horror, like if you like certain things that might make you a little sit in your spirit in a negative way, probably don't read that at night. But reading something soothing is powerful, because like the book I'm reading is called Rest is Resistance by the Nap Ministry. And I woke up thinking about what I had just read. I woke up thinking about that. Like I went to bed very relaxed. It just so happens that that's the title of the book that I'm reading, right? but it definitely like it sat in my spirit. It unwind me. So that just started 2 weeks ago. But prior to me creating intention behind reading more, I listen to music. I'll take a shower, use some aromatherapy soap, which helps like make me get into the present more. And then I'll use sleep sounds. So I'll go on YouTube. They have rain sounds, they have sleep sounds. So those kind of things help unwind me. With my kids, so for people that have children, and you want to like work on like you could work on it together. I think that would be so amazing. And you want to work on helping them develop better habits. That's the best thing you can do. Even if you didn't grow up with them or you're learning them, bring them into the dialogue, because guess what? They're going to be an adult one day and they're going to need to know how to manage life, how to manage sleep when my sleep's off, how to take care of myself. You can even add a meditation routine to your nighttime routine. And if you say, I don't know how to meditate, I promise you it's not as challenging as you think it is. It's literally being still. And you can even put on a guided meditation on YouTube. Again, I'm always going to give you free resources because I want to help you debunk this idea of excuses of what you don't have, right? Our system sets it up where it provides us with wellness tools, but in a way that is connected to money, right? And so if you can think about these things where you're not going out of your way, you're not having to purchase something, and you're able to actually work on developing better sleep routine, like that's so important. So a hot bath, listening to music, reading. So those are some of the things that you can think of as you're trying to practice it. And then perform the same nightly routines every night, right? This is literally signaling to your system that it's time for bed. Don't watch the news at night. If you like to watch certain shows and be updated, make sure that you're not doing it right before sleep. That's something that can keep your system riled up, right? The mind is way more powerful than we realize. Like, I don't think people understand the magnitude of just how powerful the mind is. Hey, Dawn, I don't think people realize just how powerful the mind is. It's very powerful. And if you can work on paying attention to what you're engaging, right? So not inputting more. Now, if you're somebody saying, Celeste, it's not that I'm inputting more, but I have all of these things in my head before I go to bed that I'm thinking about. And partly of why that happens is, especially if you're somebody that's always on the go, right? And then at night is when you're able to kind of like take a deep breath and relax. All of those things that you've been avoiding are probably like coming in like a dam broken, like a dam's been broken and it's just fluttering in, and it's just like you're ruminating on all these things that you may have said or that you should have said or that you didn't say, right? There's probably a lot of ruminating happening at night that's keeping you anxious. Like we can make ourselves extremely anxious just by the way we're framing things, where we're like, dang, why did I let this person say that? Or I should have did this, right? Um, it's important to like, if you have like a notebook by your bed, you can toss in some last minute thoughts on that before you go to sleep, trying to like dump it out, just write whatever it is that you're thinking. That's something that you can do. If that's happening periodically, definitely like making time to process your day every day is going to be so helpful. A lot of times we ignore, partly because we've never learned how to deal with things. We never learned how to deal with conflict. We've never learned how, because, you know, a lot of times we avoid the conflict outside. And what does it do? Like in the moment, it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to be anxious about that because I'm not going to speak up for myself. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever it is. Next thing you know, you're dealing with that conflict inside because your system knows that you're not sticking up for yourself, or you're not speaking up in the way that you could have, right? So be mindful of making sure you're finding space to release some of the things at night that are happening, because it'll definitely help you get better sleep. If anybody has any questions, let me know. I'm going to get ready to wrap up. The last thing I want to say about this process is that as you're trying to develop sleep habits, right? Like I shared mines, like I like the music and I like the rain sounds, right? Somebody else may not like those rain sounds, right? Or that type of music. I used to go to bed listening to classical music because we didn't have like Apple Music or YouTube. I had the radio, and at night they would play like classical music on the radio station, and that would actually relax me and I would feel very calm. I didn't realize like this was like therapeutic what I was doing, but it definitely was. Music has always been really helpful for me. Excuse me, it's been really helpful for me. But if you are finding yourself trying out these different routines, like give it some time. And if it's not working, it's okay to like try to reset or try something different. Like don't be afraid to try something different, especially if what you're doing isn't working. Also, make sure you're having grace with yourself during this process, right? That's something that's important. A lot of times we beat ourselves up because we know we're struggling with something and we're like, why can't we just get it together? And it's kind of like, how is that helping you while you're speaking down on yourself or trying to bully yourself? How does that help you get to that point? It doesn't help you. So really be mindful as you are trying to navigate working on better sleep of how you're speaking to yourself, because those habits that you have didn't develop overnight, right? Like for some people, like who's lived in survival mode most of their life, being still and trying to sleep is scary to your body, especially if you're somebody that lives with anxiety throughout your day, right? And you're always worrying about the next thing, and then you call yourself trying to go to sleep. Your system is like, what are we doing? We're supposed to be worried about this stuff, right? And so really being mindful that as you're trying to work on better sleep, that sometimes it's something that's been happening for so long, and so you have to have patience with yourself to guide yourself through the process of trying to get to a better optimal sleep life. Someone on Instagram says, what about sleep deprivation due to menopause? Yes, and that's something like a medically, right? And that's why I always tell people to definitely like when things are going on, let's rule out medical. And I'm not sure in regards to like I would take the same approach with working on your sleep, even if it is due to menopause. But obviously, there's something like medical changing in your system that's creating it. And I do know there are some medical conditions or things that could be going on with people that can disrupt their sleep. So we're definitely doing your research on it, right? Because with menopause or any other medical conditions comes a slew of possibilities of different things you can do that might be outside the realm of what the average person would do. So definitely like doing your research about that. So if you're dealing with a medical condition that or medication, some medications unfortunately like can cause like sleep deprivation, and then stress. Stress is a biggest one. I think a lot of Americans are dealing with when it comes to struggling with sleep. So really being mindful of your stress level and how you're managing it, and really what you're saying to yourself, right? That's the last thing I'll leave you with, is really thinking about like how you are framing your day to day, how you're framing your wins. Are you acknowledging your wins? When things aren't going well, how you're framing it. Because the way that you're talking to yourself and ruminating over things can definitely keep you in a state of exhaustion. And even when you're trying to sleep, it'll be hard to sleep because the way your mind has been focusing on those things. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. We are all work in progress, right? If money has been, if you like, want more mental health support and you haven't been able to like get a therapist or find a therapist, or your insurance may not have covered it or whatever, like, I started this podcast back in 2018 because when I went into private practice, I recognized that, I've always had a job and good insurance. So having access to therapy was easy for me, but it wasn't until I went into private practice I recognized that it's not as easy I thought it was. Like, it's really hard. And I also want people to understand that there's so many other ways to work through things, right? Therapists and psychiatrists, we're not gatekeepers to the mental health system and the well-being, right? I feel like it's kind of framed that way a lot of times. And so if the meds aren't working, or if the therapist isn't working, or you can't find one, you feel like you just have to struggle. And I don't want people to think that, because before therapists and psychiatrists came along, there were all these things that I'm talking about, people were doing and talking about, but we stopped talking about holistic ways of healing because the system doesn't allow the system doesn't get paid if you are going for that walk, if you are working on your sleep time routine without talking to a doctor about medication, right? And so you got to take your power back and really begin to look at what you're doing, what you have power over. And if there's a barrier, acknowledge the barrier. But if I can't do that, what can I do? Right. So that's what these Wednesdays are for, is for me to talk about things that people are going through and help you think about ways to rethink it or reimagine it for yourself. Because if you start to do that, guess what's going to happen? Your mind's going to help you continue to deliver the possibilities. If you feel hopeless about it, if you feel like it's never going to change, if you're talking like, hey, I'm always sleep deprived, or no, I never sleep, guess what's going to happen? Your mind is going to make sure you never sleep and you're always sleep deprived. There's just so much power in the words. You're welcome. So thank you so much. You can follow me on all social media platforms by TikTok. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And my website is celestethetherapist.com. If there's ever a topic you want me to discuss, all you got to do is go to my website, and you can put it into a box anonymously, and I'll make sure to put it on the schedule. So thank you so much. I will see you guys next Wednesday.